Now I am going to show you how to connect the shoulders at the top to complete the armholes, and I am also going to show you how I attach the sleeves. Now I am ready to gather the shoulders, and I will do that by knitting them together using a 3-needle bind off. And what I have done is to place the front piece here onto a separate needle, and the back piece is still on the circular. And I have turned the jacket inside out, so I face the wrong side. And I will now knit this shoulder together. And if you don't want to count, because you have to knit together equal number of stitches from the front piece and the back piece, and to avoid the need to count, you can just start here from the armhole, because then when you run out of stitches on the front piece, then you are finished. So if you begin at the armhole and work your way towards the neck opening, you don't have to count stitches to know where to begin. So what I do is that I place my needles parallel to each other like this. Then I find, I have one here, but I find a third needle and my yarn, and I just find some way to secure my yarn so that I can put some tension on it without losing it when I begin to knit. So I just prepare so that I see all my stitches like that, and I just begin to knit, and I knit like normal knit stitches, only I have to do the same operation on 2 stitches. So what I do is that I stick my needle through the first stitch on the first needle, and then the first stitch on the second needle. Then I pick up the yarn and I bring it through the first stitch on the second needle, and then the first stitch on the first needle, and then I slip both stitches off the needle. Then I repeat, bring my needle through the first stitch, the second stitch, pick up the yarn, knit both stitches and off the needle. Now I have 2 stitches here, and I can cast off like this, and then I continue to knit 2 stitches together and cast off. And you just have to make sure that you don't cast off too tight, because then the shoulder will lose elasticity. So I make sure I have some room when I cast off. So now I will continue until I run out of stitches on my front piece, and Then I will get back to you with the result and the next step. Now my shoulders are finished, so they connect nicely here, and the pattern looks about the same. And here I have the armhole. So next step is to attach the sleeve. So I have my sleeve here, and this is the yarn from where I finished after doing this lining, and I've just stitched to move it from here to here, where I have this join between knit stitches and purl stitches. And when I attach this sleeve, I would like these stitches to be visible and these stitches to go on the wrong side. So I will stitch along the first round of knit stitches here. And before I begin, I need to do some adjusting or preparations, and what I will begin to do is to find, this is the bottom of my sleeve. Here I have my increases, and here I have the bottom of the armhole, and this is my cutting edge, and here I have my 2 machine seams, and this is the part of the jacket that will be visible when it is worn. And I don't want the machine stitches to be visible, so I go on this side when I attach the sleeve. And it also has to do with securing the yarn. If I were to stitch on this side, the yarn is not secured by the machine seam, so this wouldn't work at all. But I have 2 seams, and I could go in between them and still have secured my cutting edge. But I would make sure to go on the outside of both seams so that no machine seam can be seen. So I just do one simple stitch here to connect the bottom of the sleeve to the bottom of the armhole, like this. And when that is done, I will find the top of my sleeve just here just here between the knit and the purl stitches, and I will find the top of the armhole here where I have the join of the front and the back piece for the shoulder, and I'll place it right there and lay it flat just to see that this still fits nicely. And I would like to use a safety pin, or maybe you can even stitch it to the top, but it's a good thing to do to attach it at the top as well, because then it will be easy to follow when you attach, that you are not stretching this bit too much and are left with a bump here at the end. If I just had it like this, it would be easy to stretch it too far and not see that. So I am not able at the time to find a spare safety pin, but I would attach it here. Anyway, I would now like to use mattress stitches to attach the sleeve, and when I do, I always begin by sticking my needle in where it came from. So here it comes up from the sleeve, and I will go down again the same place, and I will move a little bit along this piece here, because this is where I will stitch along here in where I have the join of the sleeve with the lining, and then I will go up again. Here I have my yarn coming out from the jacket, so I will begin there, and I will move a little bit to the side. It will be a little awkward now in the beginning because I have to go around my machine seam, but I would like to begin to move up along my machine seam, but I will stay a little bit to the side here to make sure that I do not have any visible machine seam. And another thing is that if I stitch too close, I will also put unnecessary pressure on the machine stitches, so I usually keep one stitch to the side. So I begin my stitch again where my yarn comes from, then I begin to move up here, down again, same way I came, and continue, and and I will just tighten it as I go. I usually pull quite a bit just to make it tight, and then I go and stretch it a bit to make sure it is not too tight. And I will show you on the other sleeve. I have done a little bit more there, where you see how the result will be. And here you can see I have stayed in between the same stitches all the time on this piece, so that you can see you can follow the same stitch here. And I have also stayed in the first stitch after the lining here on the sleeve, so that you can see it looks, the pattern also looks the same all the way. And I will, and this is whether or not you attach it at the top. I will several times, I will come up here, connect the top of the sleeve with the top of the shoulder and check, does it still fit? If I have stretched this too much, if it's too bad, I would have to undo it, just pull it apart and undo it. Or I could go down here and make a longer stitch on this, on the sleeve, because here I have too much. And if I had too little here, I would make shorter stitch here, or opposite if I need that. So now I will continue until I have attached the sleeve, and then I will get back to you on how to attach the lining. Now my sleeve is attached, and this is the result so far. And next step is to attach the lining. So when I turn to the wrong side, this is what it looks like now. And I am going to fold this purl bit over so that I see the knit side of those stitches. And That way I will cover my cutting edge, and it will both look better and it will protect my cutting edge. I begin by, I have my thread here at the bottom of my lining, and I will find the bottom of my armhole. I will lay it flat. I will feel on both sides that it really lies flat so that I don't get a bump here that will be visible. And I just place my first stitch here so that I have a place to begin, and then I just work my way around all the time. Make sure that it's not a bump or something on the side that will be visible. And of course this should lay flat as well to make the jacket comfortable to wear. And I will just stitch like this all the way around, and I will not pull too tight. I will just tighten enough to make sure that it lies flat. And you can go around and attach it with safety pins a few places around, just to make sure that you can check that you're not pulling too much on this, because you can and make it, if you pull too much on it here, it will be tight on top. Just make sure that it has an even stretch around the whole armhole. So I will continue to stitch around, and I will get back to you with the finished result. Now I have attached the lining. It covers the cutting edge nicely. If you have a cutting edge with a lot of long ends, or it is a lot of yarn, you can trim it a bit before you do this, and you can, if you need, attach some loose yarn ends. I'm sure that many of you are able to do prettier stitching than this, and to be able to conceal the stitches better, but by my standards, as this goes on the wrong side and will not be seen, this is okay. If we see here, I can pull it, it's quite elastic, and if we turn to the right side, it looks like this. You cannot see anywhere. I have just stitched through the purl part of the stitch, and you cannot see anywhere here that I have attached anything on the wrong side.